two parties. Now, that is professional mediation, or we call it the mediation process. How about arbitration? Arbitration is not very, very different from litigation. The only difference between arbitration and litigation is that the two parties who are in dispute in arbitration process will sit and agree on a given advocate or a lawyer whom they will give an opportunity to sit as a judge. They will not go through the court process of litigation, but they decide to appoint a lawyer or advocate who will sit and listen to them, both of them, and then both parties will present their side of the story. Once they are through, then the arbitrator will determine the outcome of the matter and give a ruling. This is different because a mediator does not give a ruling in any matter. The decision on the mediation table, led by a professional mediator, the decision comes from the parties, not from the mediator. So that is the distinction between arbitration and mediation. Secondly, mediation ends up with what we call agreement. And the agreement, once it is signed by the party together with a professional mediator who stands as the guide, the agreement which has been gotten through mediation is not appealable. It cannot be taken through another court process for someone to raise an appeal. But arbitration, one can still appeal and it can be reviewed, the litigation process.
So that means that, as a professional mediator, you have to be fair, non-biased. Is it possible to be fair and unbiased, especially when you see clearly that one person is at fault? I mean, I just wondered.
Juliet, it is possible to be very...
I just wondered.
Juliet, it is possible very fair because, as I said before, the role of a mediator in the mediation process is not to make determination. The role of the mediator is to guide the two parties to discuss their differences, their disputes, so that both of them now can come up with their ideas or suggestions on how they are going to find that solution. And that is what is reduced into formal writing, which is called agreement. So one of the first requirements for a mediator to remain neutral, non-partisan, is that the mediator is not supposed to have any relation with any of the parties. In the event that when they are being, he is related in one way or the other with one of the parties, he is given an opportunity for excuse, or he can excuse himself from that matter. For example, you cannot mediate a matter whereby, let's say, one of the parties is your relative or is your business partner, and it is obvious that you will not be fair, you will not remain neutral.
Yeah, keep talking.
Yes, so based on that, that gives the mediator an opportunity just to remain professional in the sense that he will guide the two parties to discuss their difference or their conflict in a professional manner, and he will make sure that he maintains the dialogue to keep in a situation whereby it is, the sanity, and there is a cordial environment whereby it is not a, and it doesn't turn out to be kind of violent in any manner. And that is why you'll find when you walk in a mediation room, the mediator who is guiding the two parties makes sure that there is a sitting arrangement. The parties who are in dispute will not be allowed to sit on one side, because that will be giving an opportunity for the parties even to engage in violence. So you'll make sure that as a professional mediator is the one who sits in between them, so that the two parties who are in dispute cannot so easily reach out or turn physical violence in any manner. So these are some of the nitty-gritties that are supposed to be checked when you are working in the mediation room or when you are going into a mediation process.
Can the two parties disagree to, assess your service? I mean, one party might want to, but if the other person or the other party do not want to go into mediation, can you still do your job? Or do both parties have to agree?
Now, both parties have to agree. Remember, Juliet, that mediation is a voluntary exercise. No one is supposed to be coerced or brought to the table of mediation by force. Now, a situation may arise, as you have put it right, and one of the party will be willing, and the other party is unwilling. This is now part of the mediator part of his duty, the part of the duty of the mediator to ensure that he does what he call shuttle mediation, whereby he will sit with one of the party and, try to understand why this party is unwilling. And through the kind of techniques, the knowledge which the mediator has been trained, he will be in a position to highlight this unwilling party to understand the consequences which are lying in the event that he or she fails to turn up for mediation. He will try to paint out some of the picture to this party on the possible losses which he or she might go through if he fails to turn up for the mediation, but only to that extent, because he's not supposed to issue any threat. Sometimes you realize that many of the people who have been reluctant to attending mediation process, it's not because of any other reason but because of ignorance. Probably they do not know what the litigation process is holding for them. Should that matter be left to go through the court process, they are standing a chance maybe to lose, and lose in a big way. So the mediator will need to highlight to the party and show them that when you come to the mediation table, no one loses, and it is not a winner take it all. And that kind of information will help the party to make some informed decision and agree to come to the mediation table.
So which areas, I'm asking my dear sister Lucy now, which areas of business, I mean, I just want to know, what are the roles of a mediator? Where do you actually practice your roles? Is it in a family situation? Is it in business? Or maybe I'm not asking the question right. I just want to know if you can tell me examples of where the professional mediator, where they act or where they actually provide their services.
Is it directed to me, Juliet?
Yes, yes.
Yes, it is provided in business, in families, in churches, actually in everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Wow. Do you think that people are assessing this? Do you think a lot of people are assessing these professional mediation services?
Yes, now many people have turned into professional mediation because the one of going to court, as it's very expensive, and also it leaves people bitter. Even the government has allowed mediation, and whatever is agreed, it is respected by the government of Kenya. And it's also bringing unity in people, especially families, because people used to kill each other. If you lose, you revenge. But with the mediation, there's no revenge because you agree.
Do they always agree?
No, not always. Like my brother Joshua said, they don't agree always, but we don't give up on them. We keep trying. And even when they don't agree, there is no bitterness because there is nobody ruling. Like in court, the judge will rule. Even the one will lose and the other. But in this, it will be win-win situation.
Sure, I'm just asking, whatever decision that is made, by both parties and yourself, is that binding by law?
Yes, it is binding by law.
Wow. So if it is binding, so why do people go to court? I'm asking Joshua now.
Thank you, Juliet. The reason why people go to court, many people, even today, I don't know much about what is happening in the UK, probably, but one information that I know is that in the Western world, part of the world, many people now, they prefer mediation because of the advantages which are with mediation process. Many people in the African territory, especially East Africa, Kenya, they still prefer going to court because traditionally that is the background where we are coming from. It has been there for quite a long time. And because of that, it has been the practice. And then naturally also you'll find that, when one is dispute, that kind of feeling of anger and all that, somebody just feels that you would want the person who has wronged him to also feel that pinch, feel that pain, locked in cell or to be jailed or to be slapped with some serious fines. Then you will feel like kind of now is called a big point. That is why many people prefer going to court. But as it happens now, as my sister said, there is a lot of sensitization programs that are going on in our territory. That is why the government has allowed court and mediation to pick up. And it is, in fact, today in our court process, more than 70% of the matters which are filed in court are profiled for mediation process first as a first line solution. And just in case it doesn't work out, that is when now it can be referred back to court. So it is a concept which is gaining momentum. And we just believe that it's not just only going to be left for the court process. Our desire and our prayer is that this concept is going to, spread and, become popular in the marketplace where you'll not need to go to court first and then have your matter be taken through mediation. But you just reach a point as a society where wherever there is a dispute, you think, oh, do we have any mediation center close to our residential where we are staying? Because it will be seen as a first line solution instead of going to court. Because as our sister said, this process is very friendly, affordable, it takes care of relationship, and it is faster. Those are the three major points, the score that mediation has above the litigation process. Compared now to the court process, the litigation will really take a lot of time. Like in Kenya today, if you file a matter, if it is not under certificate of urgency, it will take 2 years before your matter is listened to. By that time, you will have already lost it because, as they say, justice delayed is justice denied. But mediation, you will have the opportunity to have your matter being brought to the table almost immediately, because we have quite so many mediators who have been trained in our environment today. And so it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of choice.
So you see, viewers, listeners, we don't have to take those cases to court. It's something that can be dealt with by the professional mediators. They know what they're doing. They're very used to doing these things, and they work with both parties. I think that's the best thing about this, is because they hear both parties out. And I'm assuming that you make it in such a way that the environment is conducive for both parties to come and discuss matters and get it sorted out. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Christians. Is this services, is it easy to be assessed by Christians? Why do we Christians need professional mediators? Please, I'm going to ask you, Joshua.
Of which is not true. That is not true, because I believe some of us who have been Christians, you know very well that we have witnessed there's been a lot of conflict and disputes, even in the churches, among the church leaders, even the Christian marriages, those marriages that were solemnized in the church. Great wedding ceremony took place, and everything was colorful. But some years or few months down the line, you find that the parties cannot agree. So much so that now they cannot even live in the same room. So what happened? From where did the rain started beating us? Is when we engaged in believing in some kind of unfounded gospel that as believers, we cannot experience dispute. It happens even to Christians. So when it happens to Christians, what do you do? In the first place, in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6, the Bible is clear, is telling us that when there is a dispute between you as Christians, you're not supposed to take each other to court before a judge who is a non-Christian. That is not according to Christian principles. And because of that, do you just sit back when there is a dispute between you and your brother or your sister? The answer is no. Some people, maybe they will choose to pray. Prayer is good. I also prefer that. And I cannot tell you that prayers answers. Prayers will give you solution, yes. But there comes a point, even the Bible says, watch and pray. There comes a times, even the Bible says in the book of Isaiah 1:18, chapter 1, verse 18, come, let us reason together. God himself knew when he was speaking through prophet Isaiah that there comes a time when reasoning needs to be engaged, because that is part of the reason why we were given the intellect by God. And then we need to engage it. How? In a structured manner through mediation. Because sometimes people will disagree simply because they are not seeing a certain issue from the same point of view. They are seeing a certain matter from a different point of view. It is only through structured dialogue, mediation, that can make these two people to have a common understanding, common agreement, and get united again and agree to work together through this structured discussion or dialogue process, which is called mediation. In the book of Micah, chapter 4, verse 2, part B of it, it says, for the Lord shall go forward from Mount Zion. This is a premonition that God had in his mind, that he looked upon the content, the church. He looked at it and he saw that this was supposed to be the institution which was supposed to provide a solution amongst the disputants, especially the believers. And not only believers, but even the world. That is why the prophet wrote and he said, people from the other nations will come to this mountain, the mountain of access to justice, that the church will come again to the table, sit, discuss, and then agree and find a common ground. We discuss and then agree and find a common ground where now they can once again experience unity. But do we see this today? It's very rare. So the church has lost it. We need to regain the lost ground. We need to trace back our foot where we lost and we dropped the ball so that we can be able to pick it and again gain our relevance in the marketplace. This mediation is not just for the pulpit in the church. It is meant for the church to find relevance in the marketplace when we are going to have believers who understands professional mediation and they can mix it with the word and translate it to become relevant so that the marketplace can consume it for us now to become effective peace builders. Peace is supposed to be made. It is supposed to be built clearly. The Bible says the peacemaker shall be called the sons of God. Until you purposely choose to become a peacemaker through mediation, it will not just happen because you are too prayerful. It will not just happen because you know many scriptures in the Bible. It won't happen just because you're going to church on a Sunday or because you have a title, you're a pastor or a bishop, or maybe one of the leaders in the church. it won't happen. You have to purposefully, step out and know that you are taking the step to become a peacemaker. And this is in the world that we're living in today.
That's absolutely wonderfully put. Thank you so much for that. I can see that this is something that you've been doing and you're very passionate about. I just commend you, and please continue to do what you're doing in Christendom. Lucy.
Yes.
You are a member of the Anti-Female Genital Mutilation group.
Yes.
Tell us, what do you people do? What do you people do?
We are mandated to uphold the dignity and empowerment of girls and women in Kenya through coordination of initiatives, awareness creation, and advocacy against female genital mutilation. Community dialogue or mediation remains a key element in efforts to end female genital mutilation. Meaningful conversation can be realized and key decisions arrived at when we meet with the communities and we engage in mediation and dialogues on issues that affect them. Community dialogues provide a platform for information sharing, discussing different perspectives, reviewing information, and creating an enabling environment for reaching consensus on actions to be taken.
So do you go out there and you speak to the women, to the community members? You speak to them directly?
Yes, we do, not only to women, actually men and women and children, because it affects all. Like we also go to Muslim communities because that's where it's practiced 98%. And we meet and reason together, and we don't force anything to them. We